NBC's Gabe Gutierrez joins us from the White House. Also with us, New York Times chief White House correspondent and MSNBC political analyst Peter Baker, MSNBC political analyst and former Republican Congressman Carlos Curbelo of Florida, and former Democratic Congressman Max Rose of New York. Gabe, Leader Jeffries going for more than 5 hours now. What's the feeling at the White House? And talk to us about President Trump's role winning over those Republican holdouts last night.
Well, hi, Anna. Good morning. As if there was any doubt, President Trump certainly owns the Republican Party right now. That is the sentiment here at the White House. According to a senior White House official, the president spent much of the night on the phone with lawmakers trying to get this mega bill over the finish line. Now, currently, there is no Marine sentry outside the West Wing, indicating that the president is not in the Oval Office at this point. But there is a celebratory vibe here at the White House as they wait for this bill to pass. It'll be a very busy day here. The president set to meet with Don Alexander later on today. We just heard that he's set to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin any moment now, actually. And then he heads to Iowa later on tonight for the kickoff rally to a celebratory celebrating America's 250th birthday next year. So he's going to Iowa for that. So a very busy day here, but the president is in very good spirits, according to that senior White House official, after it became clear that he was able to muscle this bill through just in time for that self-imposed July 4th deadline, Anna.
Congressman Curbelo, I want you to listen to how Republican Derek Van Orden of Wisconsin defended supporting this bill.
Am I happy about everything? No. But there's a difference between compromise and capitulation. We're not capitulating. We're compromising. The President of the United States didn't give us an assignment. We're not a bunch of little okay, I'm a member of Congress that represents almost 800,000 Wisconsinites. Is that clear?
So he was one of many who didn't like this bill to begin with. Once it came back from the Senate, he's saying they didn't capitulate. But if the bill didn't change, there was no compromise. So what do you call that?
Well, Anna, what is clear is what Gabe said. I mean, this is all attributable to Donald Trump's influence and his power in the Republican Party. We know that there are senators who did not like this bill. They said it publicly. We know there are House members who have some very serious concerns. Yet the president's muscle is what got this through. This was a risky strategy. There were congressmen and senators who told the president they should pursue a two-bill approach. The president all in one shot. And despite some resistance in both chambers, he got it through. It's an impressive accomplishment, but a reminder that reconciliation is a double-edged sword. It is a good tool for the majority to push through their agenda, but politically, it tends to hurt the party that gets it done.
That's interesting when you say what could come in terms of consequences, and yet the president is taking a victory lap just moments ago, putting out this post on Truth Social. What a great night it was, one of the most consequential bills ever. The USA is the hottest country in the world by far. Congressman Rose, this vote went through this record vote-a-rama in the Senate side, one of the longest votes in modern history on the House side, just getting to this point before the final vote. But if it appears to be coming up short in terms of the Democratic efforts to stop this, what does that say about Democrats' strategy and ability to be a barrier?
Well, let's look at what Leader Jeffries is doing right now. Now, the rules of the House floor are very interesting in terms of decorum. You can't call another member ugly, but you can stand up there and vote to take away benefits from millions of people. So what Leader Jeffries is doing is Republican district by Republican district. He's not engaging in character assaults, but he is bringing up individual stories from their districts of hardworking people whose lives will be damaged as a consequence of this bill, who will lose food benefits, who will lose health care benefits. The individual cases of these members, fascinating. Think about a guy like Ryan McKenzie down in Pennsylvania 7. He won his district in 2024 by something like 4,000 votes. He's going to kick over 25,000 people off of their benefits just with this bill close to, more than 5 times his win margin. The political consequences for these members is going to be disastrous. And the candidate already challenging him, Ryan Croswell, a great Marine, incredible service record, is already bringing this fight to him on this very issue. So the Democrats' fight has only just begun.
I want to bring in NBC's Melanie Zanona joining us on Capitol Hill. I mean, Mel, to the point that we've already discussed, the potentially politically damaging impacts of this bill, how did Republicans get everybody lined up to vote for it?
It was a long night of whipping and arm twisting. Ultimately, though, they didn't change the bill whatsoever. And that was something that the GOP leadership was desperately trying to avoid, because had they changed a single word, even a punctuation mark in this bill, they would have needed to send it back to the Senate. So I'm told instead what a lot of these late night conversations focused on, including a 1 a.m. phone call involving Trump and some of these holdouts, was about future actions they can take to address conservative priorities. Things like future executive action and talk of another reconciliation bill down the line. There was also a lot of talk about what they said was aggressive implementation of some of the provisions in the bill. These conservatives particularly wanted some assurances that some of the rollbacks of clean energy tax credits would be implemented quickly and aggressively. They also wanted assurances about how some of these new Medicaid restrictions would be playing out. And so in the end, it was more of a venting session between these holdouts and conservatives. They asked a lot of questions, I'm told, but the White House, Trump, and other officials were really patient walking them through all of the provisions. We saw Trump turn up the heat a little bit last night, growing frustrated, tweeting about, what are you guys waiting for? It's time to move this on. This is ridiculous. Ultimately, though, they got the votes for the procedural vote, and we are anticipating that they'll be able to get the votes for final passage as well.
So, Peter, President Trump, as we've discussed, met with Republican members yesterday. He was posting all night. He's back posting this morning. The vote hasn't happened yet, so clearly that's the extra pressure campaign he's putting on. What are you hearing about these efforts and the fact that he appears to be on track to meet that self-imposed deadline, which is never a given?
Yeah, he is on track to meet it. That's kind of important to him because he has missed so many other deadlines he has set so far in his second term. He wants to be able to demonstrate mastery, as Gabe said. He is the dominant force in this party. Even with Elon Musk out there threatening to primary Republicans who vote for the bill, it looks like Republicans are more willing to defer to the president than they are to the richest man in the country. That Trump has dominated this caucus in a way that we've never seen any president, I think, in control of his own party. But this is, what's striking about this, too, is it's the first and only big legislation that this president has tried in his second term. Everything he's been doing up till now, all the changes he's put into place have been through executive action. He hasn't been working with Congress up until now, even though it's his party in charge of both houses, because the majority are so slim and because we see how hard it is, how dysfunctional it is just to get something through. So this is the big test for him. A lot will be decided, but it will frame the conversation for the next year heading into the midterms. Is this the direction the country voted for when they voted for Donald Trump last year?
Melanie, as we look at these images of Speaker, or I should say Leader Jeffries continuing to speak, using his time before this vote hits the floor, what exactly is he hoping to accomplish here? Does he think he could change minds?
He wants to be speaker. He wants to be speaker one day. We should be clear. I know that was a slip up, but that is certainly not the mind of Hakeem Jeffries. Look, Democrats, they don't have the votes to stop this, but they are going to try to drag it out as long as possible. And more importantly for Democrats, they're going to try to make it as politically painful for Democrats. So what you're seeing play out right now on the floor with Jeffries delivering this now several hours long speech is a preview of the playbook that Democrats are hoping to use to win back the House. They're going to be highlighting instances of people being kicked off Medicaid, rural hospitals closing down, highlighting the real world impacts of some of these bills and arguing that Republicans tried to take away health care for millions of Americans in order to finance tax breaks for the rich. Now, I've talked to Republican leaders about this, and they think that that they have a strong argument to make as well, that they can talk about things like no tax on tips and overtime. That's really popular. And that when they talk about Medicaid in a way that explains who they are targeting, people, waste, fraud, and abuse, people who aren't working, those tend to pull popular. But it is a difficult messaging endeavor for Republicans. So, we'll see which Republican or Democratic Party ends up being the messaging winner here. But it's definitely going to be a battle going home and selling this in a lot of these districts.
Congressman Curbelo, after all these overnight votes and wheeling and dealing, although there wasn't a lot of dealing, it doesn't sound like, in terms of making compromises, at least in this latest round we've gone. What does this moment say about Speaker Johnson's leadership? If this holds, he's going to be, on track to having navigated a few of these nail biters now.
Look, Anna, Mike Johnson has been underestimated from day one. In many ways, he is an accidental speaker. No one could have seen this coming just a few years ago. And despite all of those challenges, despite those expectations, he has been able to deliver. He perhaps has the perfect temperament for the current House Republican Conference. He's mild-mannered. He doesn't really get angry often. He doesn't really have any enemies, which is probably the reason he became Speaker. So this is yet another major accomplishment in terms of navigating the politics of the House Republican Conference for Mike Johnson, and people are really going to have to start giving him credit for being able to get his members to the finish line. Of course, big assist from President Trump, but I think people should probably stop underestimating Mike Johnson.